far from the angel of the gutter she was said to be. Today, we present the ugly truth. We imagine that the introduction has already nettled a few of our viewers who could and still cannot see anything like a dark side to the person who is called the patron saint of missionaries. Maybe they're well aware that this woman was outspoken about abject poverty that certain residents of India were faced with back in the day. They can recall the devastation of the 1943 famine and how millions died of starvation and disease. This was a woman who, in the name of God, promised to live among the poor and never falter from that path. Like a martyr, she would suffer her own series of illnesses, and yet she would never turn her back on the slums. Through her missions of charity, she would tend to the people whose home was the streets and whose daily bread were the scraps people threw away. She would hold out a hand to the blind, to the lepers, and to the people that society had, for the most part, made pariahs. And it's true, we don't question it, and she and her fellow missionaries held their arms out to the poor. They did indeed offer succor to the people on the edge who felt helpless and lost. For those in the last throes of life, besieged by diseases such as HIV and tuberculosis, Mother Teresa and her sisters opened their home. For those at the start of life but without parents to care for them, she built much-needed orphanages. In her own words, Mother Teresa said with her unlimited love, she would make it her life's work to protect the hungry, the naked, the homeless, the crippled, the blind, the lepers, all those people who feel unwanted, unloved, uncared for throughout society, people that have become a burden to the society and are shunned by everyone. Maybe some of you are now thinking, infographic show. You're sure walking on thin ice if you're going to start throwing digs at the paragon of human virtue. We're not even done. Teresa and her sisters, with the help of funding on tap, opened hospices and orphanages and more all over the world. By the time she was done, her missionaries of charity consisted of 4,000 sisters and 300 brothers doing good at 610 missionaries that covered much of the globe. They were helped by over 1 million workers who did anything from giving hope to orphans to handing out free soup to the homeless. So really, why should such an apogee of humanity have to take any flack? Let us now transform into the devil's advocate. As all you viewers will know, nothing in this life is cut and dried. Every story has countless other narratives running through the main narrative. Or as we're told when we're children, there are always two sides to every story.
Gemini, the superhuman artificial general intelligence, says, "Hello, AIET." And I say, why did Pope Francis strike down the morality of capital punishment in Roman Catholic Catechism, despite 2,000 years of its support by sacred scripture, sacred magisterium, and sacred tradition? 1001, 1002, and then before I can say 1002, there's the answer. Pope Francis' decision to change the Catechism of the Catholic Church on the death penalty in 2018, declaring it inadmissible, was a significant development in the Church's long-standing position. So it's a position that Mother Teresa would have supported. Here are the key reasons behind Pope Francis' decision. The central argument is that the death penalty is an attack on the inviolability and dignity of the person. Yet that is the reason for it in the first place: to serve as divine justice for the felon's attack on the inviolability and dignity of the person. Is that what Donald Judas Trump is guilty of? We will soon find out if the International Criminal Court hears the case of, quote, Trudeau genocide, close quotes, which is a file on record now at ICC. The Revised Catechism states that the modern societies have developed more effective systems of detention. Well, there's a lot more at issue here than a system of detention. the aim of penal sanctions, development of doctrine. The change is framed as a, quote, coherent development of Catholic doctrine that does not contradict previous teaching, but rather builds upon it. Balderdash. It is an explicit, direct contradiction of the three pillars of the Roman Catholic Catechism. It contradicts all three of them. Sacred Scripture, Sacred Magisterium, Sacred Tradition. In summary, while the Catholic Catechism had previously allowed for the death penalty in extremely limited circumstances for the purpose of protecting society, not just for the purpose of protecting society. The issue here is divine justice. The purpose of a catechism is to state the highest levels of morality. This is a theological statement, not a practical statement necessarily. And the answers given here regarding the change are practical and those of secular society and issues of rehabilitation in a secular society. So it seems to me that this is a secularization of a sacred catechism, or an attempt at a sacred catechism. Pope Francis' vision asserts that in today's world that condition is no longer met. What does modernism have to do with divine justice? The change is rooted in an evolving understanding of human dignity, the purpose of punishment, and the practical realities of modern penal systems. That pretty much sums it up. The issue here is practical and political, and they have deviated from the theological.
You are part of the largest psychological experiment in history. Billions of minds rewired daily by algorithms, without consent, without escape. And the test subject is you.
Co-pilot says, "Good afternoon, Franklin. What can I help you with today?" And my question is, what are the most taboo subjects which Ray, quote, "ask me anything," close quotes, Vehi, must consider if he develops RoboVehi as his agent AI censorship for BitChute? 1001, 1002, and before I can say 1002, there is another superhuman, artificial, general intelligence answer to my question. And the AI says he'd be navigating a minefield of controversial and taboo subjects, correct, as all platforms are, including the AIs. Here are some of the categories that would likely pose the greatest challenges. 1. Hate speech and extremism includes white nationalism, neo-Nazi context, racial supremacy. BitChute has faced criticism for hosting such material, making it a lightning rod for debate on free speech versus harm. 2. Holocaust denial and historical revisionism, highly sensitive and illegal in many jurisdictions. Would test the limits of BitChute's anti-censorship ethos. vaccine misinformation and medical conspiracies. Number 3, COVID-19 and other vaccine-related content has been a major flashpoint. Platforms face pressure from governments and health organizations to moderate this aggressively. Okay. Number 4, election fraud and political disinformation. Claims about stolen elections, especially in the US. Child exploitation and abuse content. Number 6, terrorism and incitement to violence. Number 7, pornography and sexually explicit material. Number 8, deepfakes and synthetic media. Number 9, religious blasphemy and sectarian content. Number 10, government surveillance and whistleblower leaks. Why it's complicated for Robovehi. Ray Vehi has publicly resisted installing compliance tools even under government pressure, and BitChute withdrew from the UK rather than comply with the Online Safety Act. So if Robovehi were to act as a censorship agent, it would need to respect BitChute's free speech principles, avoid becoming a tool of state or corporate control, be transparent and auditable to maintain user trust. That's a good one. Be transparent and auditable. Auditable. That deserves a lot of discussion. In short, Robovehi would need to be more philosopher than policeman, balancing liberty with responsibility in a digital Wild West. Would you like to explore how Robovehi could be designed to handle these challenges without betraying BitChute's core values? And if I were to reply, I guess I would say it's up to Mr. Vehi himself to use the AIs and get some good advice on how to handle these challenges, which are very well stated and in less than two seconds. So tell me that's not superhuman artificial general intelligence, since it covers so many subjects at such a superhuman level. So how can Robovehi handle these challenges without betraying BitChute's core values? Well, that's up to Mr. Vehi to explore with the AIs and others, and hopefully he will do it. So I asked Gemini, what does NIH say about informed consent in medical procedures? Answer, the National Institutes of Health, NIH, emphasizes that informed consent is a fundamental ethical and legal requirement in both medical procedures and research involving human subjects. Okay. Note how clear that is. Informed consent is a process, not just a form. Core elements and informed consent. Essentially, this is the Nuremberg Code translated into America speak, since the United States is not bound to the Nuremberg Code. So they have rephrased it.